All right, so what we're introducing today at this show, at the Roadshow for you guys, is the Filter Quick Intuition. And what this is the latest development in the Filter Quick product lineup. And we call it the Intuition because it's truly an intuitive type of a fryer. So what we've done is we've redesigned the Filter Quick unit from the ground up. So we've changed pretty much everything, and we've designed it and built it with three things in mind. First is innovation, then reliability and serviceability. So I'll show you some examples of what we've done in the redesign and the remanufacture of this product line. So it is based on the 30-pound oil conserving pot design, which means I can cook as much product in 30 pounds of oil that I traditionally cooked in 50 pounds of oil. So over the years, after developing that pot size, then they created Filter Quick, which actually added automatic filtration into it. By automatic filtration, I don't mean that it goes into it without you knowing it, but it will prompt you when you need to filter based upon cooking activity, time of day, elapsed time from the last filtration, whatever your settings that the customer wants would set up to be. So a couple of things that we've done with this from the innovation standpoint is when we look at the controller is now a capacitive touch. So our current touchscreen controller is not. It's a straight type of touchscreen. This one's capacitive touch, much like your iPhone, so that you have the ability to scroll through menus.
Not capacitive, meaning instead of touching buttons on the screen, you can slide.
That's exactly right. So you see that I have the ability to scroll to different menus. And what that gives us the ability to do is we can actually now have multiple menus on the fryer itself without having to go to a new menu book. So I pretty much have an unending number of menus available to me. Now what it'll also do is it has the ability, you would in practice, if you had items that were a different set point that you needed to have on your menu screen, under current conditions, you would have to create a whole new menu, okay? So that you would make sure that you're not cooking at the wrong set point. With this one, if you have items that have a different set point, they would be grayed out, so they wouldn't be available to you. And to change the set point, all you would have to do is hold the item down, and it would behind the scenes change the set point. Since they're all the same set point, it's not going to allow me to do that. This is how you would select a cook. I have a red X for the first 15 seconds so that if I selected the wrong item, I have the ability to stop it and pick a new one. After the first 15 seconds, the red X goes away, and that is to prevent the people operating this fryer from shortening the cook, so that they're in a hurry, somebody's saying, get me more fries, so they don't cook them all the way.
Right.
Yeah, so they could still do that, but it wouldn't give them any advantage on the controller itself, okay? So a lot of innovation in the controller itself. So this one has 5 times the memory of our current controller, so that I have the ability to really customize to particular customers' needs. So what we've done with this is most of the settings that are going on with this fryer now have a variable setting, so it can be customized to the customer's needs. So if for instance, you have multiple ways that you can select a filtration. You can select a filtration based on the number of cooks. I can also add into that, people get concerned that you're going to ask me to filter during busy times. I can either set those times apart and not ask you to filter during those times, or I can set up idle periods in the fryer before it would ask you. So you would get to your 15 cooks first, but I'm needing 2 minutes of no cooking activity going on before it would prompt me to do the filtration. You can limit the number of no's. I can say you can only say no twice, then you've got to filter me before you can cook again. So you've got a lot of capability behind it. Yeah, and you could do that. Now, because today, setting it on time in our controller is based upon the lapse time from the last filtration.
Okay.
With this controller, you can actually set times of day, okay? Now, these are born digital meaning that they're connecting at the time that we start them up. This is a cellular connection. I don't go through the modem within the restaurant and have to get their permission. I'm connecting directly to Welbilt's Kitchen Connect, so that we believe with the artificial intelligence that we're going to be able to create, that at some point, this fryer is going to actually do what you're saying, Dan. It's going to say, best times for you to filter is going to be 10:32, 2:19, and 4:50, or whatever the case may be. Because it'll compare everything that's going on and say that's the best time for you to filter, okay? So there's a lot of capabilities built into this. Now, from a serviceability standpoint, a couple of things that we've done that I'll just take note of is, one thing is that when you're looking at a fryer, there's all kinds of sensors within that pot. Now there's extra ones with this one because everything's automated, but there's thermostats, there's high limit sensors, there's all kinds of things that are wearable type of sensors that are going to have to be replaced. In today's world, the thermostat may be located on the back of that fry pot. If it is, and that thermostat has to be replaced, you're having to pull that fryer out in the middle of your kitchen floor, take the back off to replace the thermostat. We have changed the design of this fryer so that every sensor is accessible from the front, okay? I don't have to pull it out. So this controller is attached with 2 screws that I've already taken off, okay? So I pull it, and it's designed to hang off the front. And you can see every sensor is located on the front of this fry pot. So the service guy has to come in and change out the thermostat. He has the ability, he pulls this down, pulls it down, and you'll notice the wiring on this controller. If you pulled our controllers down today, it does not look like this. It's a bowl of spaghetti with wires all over the place, okay? These are all an automotive style type wiring harness, so that the return line goes only in the return line area. That's the only place it'll go. So we've really reduced the amount of service time that's necessary. The other things that we've done, you'll notice these 2 units right here, okay? These are actually air pressure sensors, okay? So what we've done is we've changed our, this is a gas fryer, so it needs a blower to maintain the combustion like it's supposed to be. What we've done is we've changed from a single fan to 2 micro fans, okay? The 2 micro fans you'll see are down here, so you've got one for each burner. So what will happen is that where we're going to save, that's going to save you energy, because in an idle period in the fryer, rather than one fan blowing both sides to make it come back up those 1 or 2 degrees during an idle period, I can now go back and forth, and it will do the left one first, then it will do the right one next, so that you don't wear one out and not the other. But you're going to use half as much. You're going to use half as much energy during an idle time. Now, how big is that? This fryer's in idle time 75% of the day. So it can be a sizable number for energy savings. Okay. Plus the fact that I'm reducing the number of cycles on my fans, so my fan's going to last longer too, which is one of the things that this controller has given us with having 5 times the amount of memory. Now I have the ability to do things specifically that a customer wants to do. Yeah. All right. So then when we're thinking about kind of going back to those air pressure sensors, so one of the service calls that we have today will be that over time, I mean, this is a pretty nasty environment. You're going to have to clean that air filter to maintain that right air pressure going over that combustion system. So we've now got 2 fans, but what we've also got, since we're measuring that air pressure, when I showed you those air pressure sensors, now rather than it giving you a heating failure error that you then call the service company and they come in and say, oh, we need to clean your air filter, clean your blower system. Now what will happen is this fryer will give you an error message, and it'll say, because it's measuring that air pressure, and it's saying you need to clean out your air filter.
Can the customer do that, or is that service agent?
Yes, and it's going to come up here. It's going to not only give you that error, it's going to give you a diagram of what you need to do. And it's going to tell you that you need to pull that off, much like you'd see in your lawnmower at home.
Yeah.
Wash that out.
Make sure it's bone dry before it goes
Yeah.
back in, right?
Put it back in, and put it back on the fryer. I don't even know, but it would.
Whenever they lose it.
Yeah.
Well,
Good
that would-
point.
Yeah.
Good
So
point.
do we send extra then? Do we send an extra one? I'm just
Well,
curious.
well, you know what? That's not a bad idea.
Because,
Maybe
I
we
mean,
should.
like, what's that? I mean, it's got to be 8 cents, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to be something really expensive. But it prevents a service call is the big thing. Now it's not a $300 service call to come clean out an air filter. It's done, and I do it at the right time. So one of the couple of the other changes that you can take a look at, of course, you know, with a 30-pound fryer, you have the automatic top off. You would have a jib of oil here. Okay. We've also moved the filter pump. So the filter pump traditionally in our fryers would be located behind all of this plumbing. Okay. So to change out a filter pump, which unfortunately is pretty common that you have to do, change out a filter pump, you have to kind of disassemble the fryer. In some of the fryers, it would be accessible from the back. So you have to pull it out and take off the back. We have moved the fryer pump on this unit behind the jib, and it's done. It's 2 bolts. I take those 2 bolts off, slide out the filter pump, plug a new one in, put it back in. So what used to be a 2-hour service call is now a 20-minute service call. So the pump itself is not different. It's the same pump as
Same
before.
pump, but you're saving on labor.
Yes, I'm going from 2.5 to 3 hours to 20 minutes. So it's a much easier change. And I'm not pulling the fryer out in the middle of the kitchen floor.
Right.
It's right here, accessible from the front. Right below that is your component box. All your electrical components are accessible by removing these two bolts at the top of that electric panel. And I have every electrical component. No, different bolts, okay? I removed those, but again, that used to be accessible through the side. I had to pull the fryer out in the middle of the floor to make those connections. So everything that we could do by accessing from the front, I mean, there's probably other things, yes, less common things, but all of the common things, I can leave it where it sits. Yeah, no. Now let me show you one of the big changes that we've also done is in the filtration. Of course, filtration is very, very important in these fryers, and what we've done is that we've changed our filter pump from a 4-gallon per minute capacity to 8 gallons per minute. Okay, and I've also made it a variable speed pump. So what we're doing is I need that filtration to get all that sediment out efficiently, but I want to do it in as little time as possible for 2 reasons. One is so the crew feels comfortable saying yes when it asks them to filter. But the other reason is if I can reduce the amount of time that's in filtration, I reduce the amount of temperature that's coming out of the oil, so I'm back to temp faster. Okay, so we've got a variable speed pump, and we'll take it through a filtration. Now, normally it would ask me to filter after the activity or however I've got it set up, but I can always take it in manually. So the image with the hand with the rag is your cleaning image. Okay, so we'll do a quick filter. Say yes. Here's your manual step. Skim the debris from the top. Okay, yeah, much better picture than our current controller. And it'll give you about 45 seconds to be able to do that. I'm done. And then it goes into its operation. You're going to see it's going to drain. Now at the beginning of the drain cycle, you're going to see bubbles come up, and that's shooting air in the bottom of that pot to get the sediments floating, so that when that oil goes into your filter pan, it's pushing the sediment out. That's right, that's right. So the other thing that this will do, you can see how fast it's draining. Okay, now in this one, but for demo purposes, this is still timed. In actual practice, because of the sensors, it knows it's gone, and it would come out of draining now and go into your flushing cycle. So this one's still adding some time to it because I can't demonstrate all that with this. Look at the speed difference in the oil coming from the back of that pot up through the front. So you can see it's going to full speed. You'll watch it when it comes out of this. Now, this will be the only time sequence that'll stay the same. I need 45 seconds to get the sediment out, so it won't change, okay? But what would happen is at the end of this, gives you a warning that the drain's closing, so if I've had this brush in there pushing a tater tot out, it's telling you better get that out of there because I'm closing this. So it's closing, and look at the speed with which it's filling. Still at full speed. So you'll see how fast that'll fill up. At the end of that, you'll see bubbles. Because it's on a timed basis on here, the bubbles will run for probably 30 seconds. In actual practice, when you start seeing those bubbles, I'm also measuring the pressure on the filter pump. It knows I don't have any pressure on me. I'm gonna stop. So, and putting all of this air into the oil is really cooling it down. So if I can stop those cycles, then I don't have as much time at the end to bring it back to temp. You can see power comes back on, heat comes back on while it's still filling. When it knows it's safe, that it's covered the heating elements, it'll keep pulling it up, okay? At the end of this, you'll see the bubbles now. In actual practice, it would stop now and say, okay, I'm empty because of the pressure that's going across that filter pump is no longer there. So what we're gonna do with this product is that install, it'll connect. Now, if the customer says absolutely not, you're not gonna do that, we wouldn't, okay? But I'm gonna pay for the first year. That data's gonna be theirs. I wanna have access to it, they'll have access to it. But we believe that by paying for the first year, I'm gonna have enough savings in warranty calls that aren't warranty calls, and enough, and I believe that they're going to see the value in it, and they're probably going to want to keep it going in the future. Anything that's going on in this fryer that's going through this controller, I'm going to have access to. So I'm going to know it, and it's automatic. I pay for it the first year. Customer picks up it after that. It's their decision. Perfect example is that we go out and do the install and startup, and at startup, our service guys go out and make sure the gas pressure's good. Usually that's happening at 6 a.m. in the morning, and none of the other equipment's running.
Yeah.
So the gas, the water column says, absolutely, you've got plenty of gas. Then everything starts coming up, and all of a sudden, in the second day, we've got a service call for heat failures. Well, that's awfully hard to determine what the cause of that is. So after replacing valves and everything else that didn't need to be replaced, finally one of our service guys says, hey, why don't we put in a gas meter and let's see if you're getting enough gas. And that gas meter shows every day at 10 o'clock, this thing quits heating. Well, it's because you just turned the griddle on and you've turned everything else on.
And we can monitor the gas pressures on it.
Yes. First day, we would start getting warnings that says, you got gas pressure issues, or it wouldn't tell me it was a gas pressure issue. It would tell me that you've got a heat failure. But then we notice after the second day, it happens every day at 10:30. Starts telling us what the real reason is. So it becomes an unnecessary service call, an unnecessary warranty call. And that's why we're doing it for the first year, because we figure we're going to save a lot of money on this thing.
Does the customer have to drop a Cat 5 cable anywhere
Nope.
near here?
Nope. It's a cellular connection.
Oh.
So I'm not going through his Wi-Fi either.
Love that.
It just automatically comes on. This is the new Power Runner model, and we developed the Power Runner last year to give us a better product offering in the mid-level 50-pound fryer product offering. And it's a tube fryer, full 50 pounds, not Energy Star, okay? But what we've given you, what we provided in this is the ability to have built-in filtration on a single model, up to 4 in a battery, or not. You can do them with built-in filtration or not. It's whatever you want, okay? We've given you the ability to have rear oil discharge, front oil discharge with the washdown hose. All of this that traditionally we have required you to step up in a higher model to be able to get these options. Now you can get them in this base model, okay? You have a choice of one of 4 controllers today, a millivolt, our version of the solid state, which is a Thermotron, the digital timer, or the CM3.5. What you're seeing here is our future controller that'll be out in the second half. This will replace the CM3.5 and the digital timer controller, okay? Now, it'll do everything that those controllers do today, plus something.
Less buttons to press, more buttons to press.
Way fewer buttons to press. What happens is that it's now in digital timer control, okay? I'll start that cook, 5 seconds, so that we don't have to wait on it. At the end, it says it's done, okay? You'll notice it says cook. If you're familiar with today's CM 3.5 controller, do you know how cook is spelled? C-O-O-C, because it's the traditional analog type and you don't have a full alphabet, okay? This one you're gonna have a full alphabet. So in the let me start this now.
What is the price point of these versus the CM?
This will not be any larger than the CM. I'm not sure how we're going to do it on the digital timer. Okay. Now it'll do everything that the CM does today, so it's totally programmable.
How many recipes?
You can get 12 per side. Okay, and it's uploadable through a USB. You create it on your laptop. You don't sit in front of the fryer on a pickle bucket for hours on end trying to program all these items into the controller. So you have the ability to upload it through a USB. To go through the items, you scroll through this way, you get to the item you want, I start to cook, okay? Then I decide maybe I've got 4 quad baskets in here. I need another item. So I'm gonna also do chips, okay? And you can see what happens is it'll give me the time for my new item, but then it'll automatically go back to the item that's closest to being done. Then you'll pull that item, and then it'll give you the timer on the next item. And you could actually start 6 cooks on there if you wanted to. And we only did that because you could do that in the CM 3.5. We wanted to have total capability of there. And then on the digital timer, so when I switch back and forth to the digital timer, you got the ability to do a digital timer mode, a programmable mode, or a dual mode. So I can switch back and forth. This would be your digital timer mode, your programmable mode. By holding this button down, as long as I hadn't started to cook, I can go back to my digital timer. Now, why would you need to do that? Let's say that you've got a customer that blanches fries first thing in the morning. He don't want to do a program for blanching fries. He just wants to set the time and the temperature. Start off in the digital timer, blanch your fries, because they normally will do that first thing in the morning, and then you can switch back to the programmable mode after I'm done with that, so that he can go into the rest of the day's cooking activity. So that'll be available probably late third quarter, and by the way, it's backwards compatible. So if you've got a CM 3.5 or a digital timer in a fryer today, it's plug and play. You can switch it out, same bevel, same everything, be the same size. You just drop it and switch it out to this controller.